Yo people, Sylvia's here. I'm back on Leaf for Leaf 110. This should be a shorter video, I think, probably. It's, what, 4:17 in the morning. I'm hoping to finish this before 5. It'll be, like I said, it'll be a shorter video. There's a reason for that. I'm heading to Port Hope to get my last bass skirt from the stupid dorks. At least that's the plan. I'm already stocked up with supplies. Can I get down there? Is that actually something I want? I feel like I should be able to get down there. Can I tell? Do I have levitate? Zani her down? Really? Not possible there. Presumably not there either. What about here? Huh, I might not be able to get down there. Check that out. I feel like I should have been able to teleport down. Whatever. Levitate down. Again, whatever. And this is in fact an island. There we go. So yeah, we're going back to dorks. Hopefully get my last bass skirt. Hopefully. The reason why I want to do a shorter video today is because I don't want anything of super meaning here because of the topic I want to speak about. I recently watched Star Wars Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. I believe it's the full title is. Because of the timing of when this video comes out, it might contain spoilers. I'm going to try to avoid like overt spoilers. But I mean, I'm going to talk about it a little bit. So for anybody who has not yet watched Rogue One and who wants to, go into it 100% fresh and not have any idea about anything, yeah, you should probably not listen at this point. So that's why I chose something short and something insignificant. So short dork hunt, no big deal if anybody wants to skip this video. I will, at the end of the video, when I would normally do my favorite, comment, subscribe crap, I will come back and say anything, if anything meaningful happened in the video. Like whether or not I got the skirt or something along those lines. Or also whether or not somebody tries to PK me or something. Anything happens in this video, I'll mention it then. So if you want no spoilers for Star Wars or Rogue One, Star Wars Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, you should probably mute the video and then just skip to the end while I'm trying to find this stupid hole down. Oh, I'm all the way off to the side. Yeah, so skip to the end of the video. I will, at that point, come back and say whether or not anything notable happened and stuff like that, and that way you can avoid spoilers. So I'm giving you 10 seconds to, start pausing before I start talking about it. Good? Paused? Muted? Good? Sure? Last chance? Alright. So, yeah, I recently watched Star Wars Rogue One, which I'm gonna say is by far, orders of magnitude, my favorite Star Wars movie. I'm baffled at how good of a movie that was. Oh my god, it was amazing. It was wow. I'm not, I've watched all the Star Wars movies, right? And I don't really hate on the prequels as much as a lot of other people did. I think the reason for that is, obviously, I'm too young to have watched Star Wars when it first came out. Its 40th anniversary, I think, is, recently passed or something like that, too. I didn't watch Star Wars until... I wonder how long. I want to say I was around maybe 8 or 9 when it came out remastered. My aunt got me the trilogy set. And it was supposed to be either a birthday present or a Christmas present, but because I whined, she let me watch one of the videos. So for starters, I think I was too young to really grasp Star Wars. I was a young, sheltered child. That was a different time, I think, with people with kids. Video games weren't really there. So I wasn't like overwhelmed with the violence of media and stuff like that. I don't mean to say like I cried when there was like violence in TV or something like that. I'm just saying like, you know, I didn't encounter it a lot. The like the concept of a war was something I didn't understand like on an intellectual basis and stuff like that. So I think like a lot of the scope of Star Wars went over my head because I was too young. And then to make matters worse, because my aunt was, you know, in hindsight, my aunt was kind of an idiot, I think, a lot of times. She was like, pick one of the three and you can watch it. And I guess she didn't realize that they were, you know, a trilogy and they go in a sequence. So she actually let me watch an Empire Strikes Back first without watching A New Hope. So, yeah. I basically, I had no idea what was going on. God, if anybody doesn't know this, the Darth Vader, Luke, I am your father reveal, like, went completely over my head. I don't know who Darth Vader was. I don't know who Luke was. You know, I was just watching it for, like, flashy lights. Ooh, look, there's robots on snow. Can I get a robot on snow, kind of thing? But I remembered enough of that when I wasn't, like, old enough to actually, like, grasp what Star Wars was, that reveal that everybody else was like, oh, crap, Darth Vader's Luke's dad. Like, I had already known about it, and I missed the reveal kind of thing. So, like, everybody always tells me The Empire Strikes Back is, like, the best one. And it's actually always been the one it was my least favorite. And I actually always liked Return of the Jedi, because something about, like, war on that scale fascinates me. And I love, not spaceships specifically, but I love, like, naval warfare. I think I've mentioned this when I spoke about, like, Star Trek before in the past. But there's something about, like, everybody putting their fate together in this ship that I find fascinating. Like, when you're a soldier on the ground, to an extent, your survival and your success is dependent on your skills. I mean, like, yeah, alright, sure, you can get, like, hit by, you know, in the ages past, like, you get unlucky and get, like, an arrow into the, you know, the head or something that you couldn't really do anything about. And modern warfare, you know, like, a plane can bomb you or, like, an artillery shell can kind of just land on you, and there's kind of nothing you can do about that. But at the same time, like, if you just were super, super aware of everything around you and, like, had amazing hearing and stuff like that and made the perfect decisions, like, you could survive a lot of situations. So to, like, a certain extent, your survival as like an infantryman or something like that is kind of dependent on your skills. If you get shot or stabbed or whatever it is, that just means, like, you got owned. I mean, not to say that you're, like, a bad soldier. I mean, you know, sometimes you just roll a 1 and they roll a 20. And, you know, I mean, sometimes you're, like, outnumbered 5 to 10 or something like that, or, you know, you're up against the tank, there's not a lot you can do. But, I mean, like, with a ship, though, the idea that you're, like, my survival and success in this battle is not based off of my own skills. It's based off of this group of people. Like, I'm just doing my job, whether or not my job is steering or, like, loading the cannons or something. It's just, I do my job, and I hope to do it well enough to make the group successful overall. And if not, well, you know, maybe I eat a torpedo. And I find that whole concept fascinating. So I've always been a big, like, I just like naval warfare, man. Just love it. So yeah, like, the Return of the Jedi had that, and I was also, when I first watched the Return of the Jedi 2, I was young enough to not think that the Ewoks were 100% stupid. I'm basically killing green Ewoks here right now, just pointing that out. Green furless Ewoks that use poison. Yeah, so I was too young to really realize that the Ewoks were just, like, catastrophically stupid and were, like, the worst thing they could have possibly done. Well, no, I guess they could have made, like, instead of Ewoks, it could have been a race of Jar Jar Binkses. Come to think of it. Rip on the original, or the prequel trilogy there for a second. Alright. So I like the Return of the Jedi because there was a space battle going on, there was a personal sword fight going on, and there was a ground battle going on at the same time. It was 3 times the war. And I loved it. So I always liked Return of the Jedi. So, I mean, but yeah, like I said, I enjoyed Star Trek a little bit more. I'm more of a logical, rational person myself too. So Star Trek's focus on more explanation of how things work, I've always enjoyed, even if it's nonsense techno jumble. I still like that they try, I guess I should say. Which isn't to say I don't like Star Wars, though. I do like Star Wars. God, the Battle of Endor. Even I actually have a video saved into my into one of my YouTube favorites. That's just the Battle of Endor, because even though that, I don't know, it came out in 80 something. Even as old as that battle is, and as technically not sound, for instance, if anybody remembers, there was 4 types of Rebel starfighters in that battle. The iconic X-wing that Luke piloted, that was Red Squadron, the Gold Squadron, which piloted the Y-wings, which were the Rebel bombers, that made the first attack on the Death Star in A New Hope, and failed. And then there were the A-Wing Interceptors, which were piloted by Green Squadron. And I can't remember what the squadron name was, but there was also the B-Wing Bombers. And I forget what their squadron is again. But anyway, for example, though, the B-Wings were there in the initial scene, when they came out of hyperspace. The B-Wings were those weird, long ones that also had the little, foil wings that folded out, kind of like the X-Wings. The B-Wings were bombers, by the way, also. They were an upgraded version of the Y-Wings. But anyway, there was the B-Wings when they initially came out of, hyperspace to attack the Death Star. And they, moved into their attack run, and then Lando Calrissian in the Millennium Falcon called off the attack run because he realized the shield was still up. So the, fleet, pulled up. And then there's no more B-Wings that showed up in the movie because the model that they used for the B-Wings didn't show up well in the background. So that was the end of that. No more B-Wings. Kind of situation. But yeah, I love that battle, man. It wasn't it's good technically. It wasn't, technical. Looking back at it, I criticized that part where... there's the part where the Super Star Destroyer Executor's shield generator, the bridge deflector shield, was knocked out. And it was actually the leader of Green Squadron in his A-Wing. He got hit and lost control of his A-Wing, and he crashed through the bridge and destroyed the bridge. Which, logically doesn't make sense. First of all, there should have been, 1,000,000 point defense weapons around the bridge, for starters. Just throwing this out there. Going off a little tangent here. There should have been 1,000,000 point defense weapons around the bridge, first of all. Second of all, why were there not, freaking, drawing a blank on the word, something that goes over windows to protect them from just being glass? Blast doors or something that could shut over those windows to prevent a spaceship, or a missile or something, from just flying right through it, for starters. For two... That part always annoyed me. So, the bridge gets taken out. Alright, so the bridge gets taken out. That's really bad, obviously. Why did knocking out the bridge make the Super Star Destroyer just be well, better make a hard left turn here? If you're driving your car, and then, the whole, steering wheel and you explodes, your car doesn't just be well, better turn left and accelerate. Your car just continues to do whatever it was. A computer, I think, would be a better example, actually. Here I am, playing this game, making this video recording simultaneously, and if my mouse and keyboard just explode right now and I die, my computer isn't going to be well, I better delete the hard drive and then start sending spam emails to everybody he knows. My computer's just going to continue to do this until, I run out of space on my hard drive, the recording cancels, That's the point, though. It's going to continue doing whatever it was doing. And what the Superstar Destroyer was doing was holding its position. I don't know whether or not it needed to keep maintaining thrust to hold its position or not. But regardless, it was doing whatever it needed to do to hold its position. And then once the bridge got destroyed, it just stopped doing that. Took a hard left turn and then just nosedived into the surface of the second Death Star and exploded. So there's parts that didn't make sense. Anyway. So I watched Rogue One. I'd actually gotten a ticket to watch Rogue One when it came out. Me and my friend were going to go see it, and we never got around to it. Because he sucks. I hope you're watching this, dude. Maybe watch it at home. I had a free ticket to watch it in the theaters. On a big screen with, awesome soundtrack and stuff like that. And instead I had to spend $6 to rent the high-def version off of YouTube. I could have spent $5 to get the standard definition one, but why would anybody do that? Now, I only had it for 3 days. I desperately want to watch it again. I desperately want to buy it, but I don't want to spend $30 or whatever it is for the high-def version to buy it. So I'm like, oh, man. Anyway, so yeah, I finally watched it a while ago. So the first thing I'll say is the trailers were misleading. I didn't look into anything about it. Just I knew there was another Star Wars movie. I had seen the Force Awakens. Is that what it was called? Whatever it was. I've seen the other one in the theaters, and to be honest, I wasn't a big fan of it. I think part of the reason why I wasn't a big fan with it was it relied heavily on the nostalgia of the original series, and like I said, I wasn't like, oh my god, original series was, Jesus in video format. I like the original series, don't get me wrong. But just running off of, nostalgia wasn't doing it for me. And once again, I found that, the premise to be... I'm sure there's an explanation in, the books and stuff like that, but I'm like, alright, so... There was a galactic empire ruled by the Galactic Emperor, who was the Sith Lord Emperor Palpatine. And he got killed. The Death Star 2 that they punt a massive amount of resources into building was destroyed. Darth Vader, his second in command, was also killed. And the Republic fleet, or the Imperial fleet, suffered a catastrophic loss. And then as far as I could tell, all these years later, the Empire is gone. The bad guys are this section of the Empire. They're not the full Empire, they're just the remnants, so to say. And the Rebels are still called the Rebels? I'm not exactly sure what's going on here. Whatever. No big deal, I suppose. But anyway, it wasn't bad. I enjoyed the movie. I'm definitely going to go see the next one when it comes out. Or I'll rent it again on YouTube. But, I'm not oh, this is terrible, I'm never watching it again. But yeah, I didn't really look into a lot into Rogue One. I knew it was a standalone thing. I'd seen the trailers where they were yeah, this is about how they got the Death Star plan. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I watched the trailers. There was that iconic scene where the chick, her name's Jyn Erso, she was like, this is a rebellion, right? Well, I rebel. There's that iconic scene. I'm like, oh man, it's gonna be some teenage angst stuff here, I found the trailer to be quite misleading in the actual video, in a good way. It was a lot more somber and had its crap together than I was expecting. It's not so much it misled me in the sense that I was like, oh, I'm going to get free candy, and then, they gave, I went to the dentist or something like that. It was just the trailer kind of set a tone that I was expecting going into it, and I did not get that tone. And you know what? I'll tell you something else. I'm going to go off on a little tangent here, too. That's happened to me one other time in my life. Where something gave me expectations. And I went into something with a very specific expectation of the tone and how a story would go. And I was wrong. And that one other time, was with Puella Magia Magica, or whatever that crap is called. An anime. And I went in with it having this like idea of what it was going to be. From the trailer and from the opening scenes, I was like, alright, I know where this is going. And I kind of, in that one situation, I was a little irritated at first. Because the whole time I was like, I know where this is going. Good God, could we get there already? Like, you're drawing this out for so incredibly long. Like, just, look, we all know where this is going. Let's just get there. You know what I'm saying? And, of course, in the case with that one, I was wrong. I didn't know where it was going. I was completely off from what I thought it was going to do and what it was supposed to be about. And I was very happy with that realization afterwards. But during it, I was getting really kind of frustrated because I kept being like, dude, just do the thing that I know you're going to do. Why is this taking so long? But yeah, you know. Ugh. Oh, snap. I don't have any food on me. Oh, wait, yeah, I do. I got all these mushrooms. There we go. I need to start casting magic, apparently, because I have full mana. Ugh. That doesn't surprise me in the least. Do-do-do. Alright, now that I've wasted sufficient mana. So yeah, you know, it was a little different than what I was expecting from the trailers. But I loved it. So, Rogue One is basically the story of how they got the plans for the Death Star. It also explains why there was such a stupid flaw in the Death Star in the first place, too. Although I'm not going to necessarily go into that, because that's not something that super bothered me as much as it seems to have bothered a lot of other people. But yeah, so it's the story of how the rebels got the plans. It's like 3 arcs. Jedha, the planet Jedha, some planet whose name I can't remember, which is a rocky, cold place with rain. And then Scarif, however that's pronounced. So it's like the 3 arcs. And the first 2 arcs, they weren't terrible. The first arc was like on Jedha. So they need to go find this pilot or something that has information about about the Death Star, because the Rebel Alliance doesn't know the Death Star exists at this point. So this is kind of like our introduction to the characters. The cast gets together. We do the thing on Jedha. We figure out some stuff, and blah, 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 blah. And then they come back. Or no, they don't come back. They go straight to the other place, the rainy place, to go get the rest of the information and meet up with this guy. So, you know, our characters develop a little bit here and stuff like that. One of the critiques a lot of people seem to give this was that it didn't have a lot of character development. They're correct, it did not. That doesn't bother me, though, and I'll explain why in a second. Anyway, we get to this place. I think it's like Eridu or something like that. Eridine. I don't know. And then they go back to Yavin 4, which was the moon where their base was in A New Hope, where the Death Star was going to blow it up. So they try to convince the Rebel Alliance that, you know, the Death Star exists. The Death Star was tested on Jedha. So they are like, the Death Star is here. We got to get these plans so that we can find a weakness in it. And the Rebel Alliance is kind of like, dude, we should just give up. We can't win if they've got this kind of stuff. And some of the other Rebel Alliance was like, we got to go do stuff. And, you know, you can tell there's a whole bunch of factions and they're fighting and they don't really, there's not a clear goal for the Rebel Alliance. So irritated that I'm still not getting this stupid skirt, by the way. So then they decide to go to Scarif instead, by themselves. And this is where things get awesome to me. So they go with this team of rebel special forces, basically, to Scarif to get the Death Star plans. And they don't really have a real plan. They're going to go there and just kind of hope that they can function as a distraction, get the plans, and then get away with the plans somehow. So they go in, they launch an attack with these like special forces guys, and they break the main characters, like break in. Well, some of the main characters break in to the like Imperial facilities, and they start trying to get the plans. And the Rebel Alliance picks up the comm chatter from Scarif indicating that there's an attack going on. So at the last, the Rebel Alliance is like, this is our chance. This is our only chance. We have to go in. So the Admiral of the Rebel fleet, like, he musters all of the forces he can get, takes his flagship, all their, supporting vessels, Blue Squadron, Red Squadron, Gold Squadron, all suit up, and in they go. So they jump out and they attack Scarif. They send additional ground forces down to the planet, so we've got a space battle going on simultaneously with this ground battle, right? And it was amazing. It was like an amazing fight all around. Like, special effects and like graphics and whatnot were just great. And here's I think what I loved about it. So, Star Wars is called Star Wars. It's about a war amongst the stars, right? You got it? Simple. Very simple name. But it's not actually a war movie, okay? Think about it. All right, we've got A New Hope, which was our first one. And in it, Luke meets up with some droids, meets up with an old Jedi Knight, Obi-Wan Kenobi, meets up with Han Solo. They're trying to bring a data chip to some woman. Who cares? Then they encounter the Death Star, and, they have to, like, sneak out of the Death Star. It's kind of like they were, like, captured, and, they gotta, like, sneak their way out of prison kind of thing. Then they get there, and then they launch a daring raid with just fighters and no additional, no capital ships or anything, just bombers and fighters against this huge super, base. It's the super weapon of the evil empire kind of thing. And they succeed. There was one actual, scene of war in that, where it was two sides at war. There was a couple of fights, where some people shot at each other and stuff like that. But that was just people shooting each other. We go into an Empire Strikes Back, and it starts off with a battle scene. The Empire is invading the planet of Hoth, where the Rebel Alliance has a hidden base. They have to stall for time so that they can, evacuate, and their ships can get out of the Imperial blockade. There's a battle there. And then afterwards, Luke goes and meets an old wizard and, gets trained and becomes his disciple. Han Solo does his stuff. They go to the Cloud City. They get interrogated, again, interpersonal conflicts. And then we've got Return of the Jedi, the one that I liked the most because it had the biggest battle. But the first, hour of it was involved, rescuing a teammate from a crime lord. The fundamental aspect that I'm trying to get here is that less of a war movie, and it was more of an adventure. We've got Princess Leia, the cleric, Han Solo, the rogue, Luke, this is the storyline, straight out of an old RPG or something. The main character's the chosen one. And there's the roguish, older brother figure, and then, nothing wrong with that, for sure. But it was less of a war story and more of this, adventure story, essentially. And like I said, nothing wrong with that, but, like I said, at the same time, it wasn't a war story so much. And that's why I liked Return of the Jedi so much, because it was an actual war story. Which is also why I was okay with the prequels, because there was a lot more focus on the war in the prequels. I mean, the second prequel was literally called The Clone Wars. And it ended in a giant battle, which was really cool to me, even if the video sucked otherwise. Oh, and did that video suck otherwise? The final one, what is it? Revenge of the Sith, I think it's called. Even Revenge of the Sith, it was mostly a battle. And also I enjoyed it because it kind of it combined the two stories that I knew, and I appreciated that. Um, stupid voodoo masters. But yeah, like I really enjoy the war aspect of the videos and stuff like that. So Rogue One is not an adventure story. It's not the adventure of this merry band of characters. It's this group of people. They exist. They're the faceless people that work in the shadows. They're for every hero, there's like a million soldiers that, just do their job. That's who these people are, I mean, Jyn Erso is the main character, obviously. But like Cassian, I think his name was, Cassian, he's just a soldier. The other people are just soldiers. They're all just soldiers. They're the millions of people, the red shirts from Star Trek, if anybody watches that. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. They're the millions of people that exist in this universe, and this is like their untold story kind of thing. The focus on Rogue One was not on the characters and their journey. It was their cogs in this greater machine that is this galaxy at war. And I thought it told a really good story. Because not everybody is the hero. Like, not everybody is this awesome dude who's a Jedi and all this crap and stuff like that. Not everybody sinks the torpedo directly into the exhaust port and destroys the thing. Not everybody can shoot down Darth Vader as they come out of nowhere without anybody noticing. Not everybody can defeat the evil Emperor. What they did was, obviously, heroic and all that stuff like that, too. And they overcame great odds, but not without great sacrifice and stuff at the same time. And I think that's what made Rogue One such a great story. The fact that, I also didn't realize where exactly it fits into the timeline was surprising to me, too. Because, I knew it was the story of how they get the Death Star plans going into it. And as I watched it, I mean, that was also, abundantly clear. It was the story of how they got the Death Star plans. That was the central focus of the plot the whole time. So I wasn't surprised by that. But I was surprised where it ended and where it started. Because it did answer... for example, one of the questions a lot of people talk about that it answered was, well, why was there such an obvious flaw in the Death Star? It does answer that question. It's because it was intentional. But anyway. What it answered to me is, so the rebels are rebelling against the Empire. They've got a whole bunch of fighters and bombers. I'm talking about A New Hope right now, okay? They've got a whole bunch of fighters and bombers. We see from the start of An Empire Strikes Back that they have larger ships. They had the transports that they were trying to get away from. And we also see, Luke gets his bionic hand replaced on that ship that was really weird. It had the large front area and the large butt area, and then a long connecting thing. That's called a Nebulon B frigate, by the way. We see that they have all these ships, but when they attack the Death Star, they just attacked with one squadron of fighters and one squadron of bombers. You guys had nothing else to throw at that. It was literally, the final battle, too. If the Death Star got to Yavin 4, it would destroy the Rebel High Command. And then whatever was left of the Rebel Alliance would just be, a ragtag group with no, centralized command and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, they probably would have survived. But also, if the Death Star, continued to exist, it was only a matter of time. They should have thrown every available asset into that they could have. And instead, they attacked with, 10 fighters and 10 bombers? You guys had nothing more than that? The interesting thing is that, no, they did not have anything more than that. They actually did not. And that, I think, was one of the most fascinating parts of this to me. I wondered, why did the Rebels not have any capital ships? Because if you watch Return of the Jedi, they have capital ships. They have all those transport vessels. They've got more of those Nebulon B frigates. They've got the Mon Calamari cruisers. Their flagship, Home 1, is there. Admiral Akbar's ship. It's a trap! I'm heading back, by the way, at this point. Did not get my my skirt. No love. No love for me and my skirt. So it's like, where are all these ships for this final attack? Why did they only send them in? And I mean, like, you could make some kind of argument that's like, well, capital ships would have been at a disadvantage against the Death Star or something like that. I mean, besides the fact that they had a whole bunch of smaller ships that probably could have avoided the super laser and would have provided, like, you know, escort and support and stuff like that for their the fighters and the bombers. But yeah, I mean, they sent nothing in. Well, the reason why they didn't send anything in, and this is like an actual spoiler at this point for anybody who didn't watch it. Stop listening for a second, okay? I'm gonna go like this when it's okay to listen. All right? So stop listening. Mute. Good. Everybody, you've muted. All right. So the reason why they didn't send any additional capital ships in or any additional fighter craft is because they had none. They were all dead. Because the end of Rogue One is literally like 10 minutes before the start of A New Hope. It's like literally minutes before the start of A New Hope. And the ending of Rogue One is with the Rebel fleet getting annihilated in orbit around Scarif. Blue Squadron is like completely destroyed. Red Squadron suffers like huge casualties. Gold Squadron suffers huge casualties. Their flagship gets destroyed. Admiral Raddus is presumably killed or captured. The rest of their ships are destroyed. Only a couple of like freighters and corvettes managed to get out. So that's why they only had that small group of soldiers to attack the Death Star. All right. Okay, everybody that muted and came back to dodge that spoiler there. So yeah, it was like, wow, oh boy, that was good stuff right there. It's such a good movie. Yeah, I loved it. I tried to get my friend to watch it. This is the best part too. I'm like, dude, you have to watch this. Like, he was the guy we were gonna go see it. I was gonna go see it with. I'm like, you gotta go watch it. It's like, it's mandatory. You have to do it. You have to like rent it, man. Rent it. So he rents it, and he watches the first 2 acts, which were like the build up to the climax, and then just stopped there because he ran out of time or something. And I was just like, yeah, never gonna watch the end of it. I'm like, dude, no. You stopped at right before the absolute best part. You gotta, no, unacceptable. He still has not watched it. I'm gonna have to like kidnap him and like tie him into a chair with his eyes taped open or something and force him to watch it. Dude, it was so good. Oh man, it was so good. I want to stop what I'm doing right now and go watch it again. I'm not gonna rent it again though, because that's stupid. I want to buy it, but I don't got the $30 for it. Incidentally, I've got, on the topic of not having money for things, I've got 1 day of premium left and need to figure out how I'm going to pay for that. Ugh, not having cash sucks. Alright, well, at this point, I'm going to click here, and as promised, I'm pulling this screen up. Okay, guys, so ideally, everybody else who muted this video because I didn't want any Rogue One spoilers are here. So let me tell you what went down in this video. Absolutely nothing. Nothing at all went down in this video. I wasted however long of my life on not finding anything. That's what went down in this video. I know, isn't it sad? I literally got no skirts, barely got any gold, got nothing cool out of it. No even hunting spears or tribal masks. Just absolute nothing. So, yeah. Anyway, folks, that's it for me. And then, as always, like, favorite, comment, subscribe. Check me out on Patreon and Twitter, and I'll see you folks.